Hi, everybody. Granddaughter Crow here, and welcome to the circle. So, this month we're going to be talking about intuition. I really love kicking this off. There is a book from Melanie Barnum that just came out in March, and it's called Real Life Intuition. And she solicits regular people, ordinary people who have extraordinary events due to their intuition, whether it's a waitress or a police officer or an office worker. And so this month is really going to be dedicated to what is intuition so that you can start looking into your own intuition. So I am going to kick this off with our first presentation on intuition. And here we go. There we go. Awesome. Welcome to the circle, the intuition with Granddaughter Crow. Let's go ahead and set sacred space and a sacred time. So, welcome, 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 welcome into this space, welcome into this time. I'm going to draw a circle around this space, around this time, declaring this space and this circle as sacred space and sacred time. I'm going to set my ego to the outside so I can be a clear conduit for you and for the divine as it reveals itself to you to provide you with wisdom, knowledge, foresight, whatever it is, it's going to be the most beneficial to you. So, this is your space and your time. Intuition, one of my favorite topics. Before we begin, I just wanted to say that a lot of people will call it intuition. That's a very easy word for people to digest. The other word is psychic, to the degree that even yours truly, Granddaughter Crow, when I first started doing reads outside of, in the general public, one of the things, sorry, one of the things that I really noticed was I didn't come out saying, "Oh, I'm a psychic." I would be like, "Oh, I'm intuitive." It's a lot more comfortable. And a lot of times when you say, "Oh, I'm psychic," people just assume that you can tell the future. So intuition is a very gentle way, but they're really synonymous, depending on, who you're speaking with. So here we go. The circle with Granddaughter Crow, intuition. Overall takeaways. First, we're going to talk just a little bit about what is intuition. Then we're going to talk about the different types. And then we're going to talk about other forms of intuition. So, first, what is intuition? We all have it. We all have it. We all have it. It's just a matter of how much do you trust it? How much have you developed it? It kind of is like a muscle. The more that you invite it in, the more that you pay attention to it, the more that it grows, the more that it develops. The less that you pay attention to it, the more that you disregard, the quieter your intuition gets. But we still all have it. Even people who aren't spiritual, intuition is something that we were born in. So the intuition is the ability to perceive beyond, the ability to perceive beyond this current room, beyond through space and time, beyond to the other side of the veil. There's just different places that you can go with it, but it's the ability to perceive something beyond what is tangible sitting right in front of you, to include maybe a person's feelings or thoughts, all of those types of things. You don't necessarily do that, but if you have a clear insight to those, then that's what it is. It's the ability to perceive beyond. Historically, we used it always. We used it always. So, our ancestors before civilization and go all the way back, their intuition, they followed it all the time. And some stories say, and I've heard from some intuitive people say, well, Some of it was trial and error, but a lot of it was like this feeling in the air, like, ooh, I don't think I should walk over there. There feels like danger. Or, ooh, I don't think that I want to eat that mushroom because there's something in my gut that says don't do it. Or, ooh, you know what? I'm sensing this or that. So it's really kind of there for the sense of survival. And when we live in a slower, clearer world, that we are, like if you were in the mountains somewhere, your intuition goes higher. You can go, what's going on? You could see things, smell things, sense things, hear things beyond. But if you live within the city or in this environment, we have so much information that comes at us that it is amazing that we are sane. We have our phones with all the different social media channels. We have our computers with the emails and the Zoom calls and etc. We have a whole bunch of information, and that's just from two different devices. We have news feeds that come up. We have television. And then that's before you even step outside your door. And then if you step outside your door, you've got the neighborhood, you have traffic or no traffic, you have sounds that you're probably almost white noise to you at this point, but it's still hitting you. Then, if you're actually driving or traveling, your senses are going to be heightened. You might get a little bit more tired when you're traveling because you're taking in even more information that is unfamiliar. And so, when you think about it, it's really kind of interesting that what it is we're getting clues and sensations from things coming at us. We need to take a moment and be silent within ourselves in order to truly pick something up. To the degree that, yes, I professionally work with my intuition all the time. I have for the last 16 years professionally. Before then, I still utilized it, tried to keep it, I tried to turn it off, to be honest with you. When I was a kid, it was really, really high. And it was very common in the household that I had some gifts under more of a Christianized tone. And then, with my life, I went away from it and I tried to turn off everything. And it didn't work. So I just kept my mouth shut because it was so natural for me to be intuitive that sometimes I'd find myself in trouble. I'll give you an example. One time I was sitting at my corporate job in downtown Denver in my office, and somebody walks by and they go, oh, gosh, I've always had like this environment that I create, even in the muggle world, that causes people to just want to sit down and decompress when they're in my space. And so I'm like, oh, yeah, go ahead and have a seat. And I'm just working away. And then I'm like, oh, so when are you moving? And they're like, how did you know I was moving? And I was like, oh, you look like you're moving. Like, what does that look like? I have no idea. But sometimes I'd find myself in those awkward situations. Or one time I was working for the state of Colorado, and I pay attention to people. And one of the fun things that I like to do is guess people's sun signs, especially if just listen to them, watch them, and I'm like, oh, I bet you they're this. There was one time when I said, hey team, I think our boss's birthday is right around this time. And they're just like, what? And one of the girls, she's like, hey, if you say it is, I believe you. I'll go out at lunchtime. We'll get a birthday card. We'll all sign it and we'll give it to her. And I said, and so I was like, oh, okay. And then I started thinking, and I'm like, why would I know that? Well, because it was a Virgo. And I was like, well, she acts like a Virgo. And so most of us sign it. Of course, there was a couple of skeptics that were like, I don't want to be a part of this. And so it was like, okay. And I just kind of figured, hey, if I'm right, she'll be happy that we recognized her birthday. If I'm wrong, it can just be a funny joke. And so we showed up. Happy birthday. Gave her a card. She turned white as a sheet. And she's like, how did you know it was my birthday? Only HR knows that it's my birthday. I make it deliberate that I don't tell people in the office when my birthday is because I'm kind of shy. And they all kind of pointed at me. And I was like, because it, you seem, it's Virgo season and you act like a Virgo. And she was like, seriously, like my birthday is tomorrow. And I was just like, and so I scared her and I'm just like, ugh. So we all have those. Those are fun intuition stories, but basically we're perceiving information, and historically we used to utilize this for survival. We all receive it a little differently, and I'm going to be talking today about how we receive it, different ways on how we receive it. And I want you to really start thinking about how do you perceive? How does your intuition work? Because a lot of times what we have is we have this, is it my intuition? Is it my fear? Is it my hope? And it's really difficult. And that's why I think a lot of people do come to me, even though they kind of have a feeling about, maybe this is the way it's going, or maybe that they have an intuitive hit, but they just kind of need somebody to go, oh, sorry, I keep rubbing my nose. I think there's pollen in the air or something. And so people will come to me and they'll ask me questions, and I'll just tell them exactly what I see. And those people are like, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. And it's just like so interesting because a lot of times we'll get an intuitive hit, and for those of us who are born or raised in this time where you're not allowed to ask questions and you're not allowed to question authority, we have it like almost in our mind that we're not allowed to ask the divine or the universe or the energy, whatever it is, how it reveals itself to you. We're not allowed to ask it to confirm itself. But we are giving you permission to say, okay, my intuition is telling me this. If it be true, please send me a purple butterfly. Please send me a banana. Let me see a banana. And inevitably, it will show up. So it's more of a dialogue. It's not just a one way, radio that you're just picking up everything and you got to say or do just like a robot. No, this is a fun time where you can actually dialogue with whatever it is that's sending you that energy, however you want to describe it. Okay, so let's take a look. These are, let's go ahead. So let's take a look. Oh, okay. So these are clairvoyance. Clairvoyance is one of them. Clairvoyance is clear vision. Clairvoyance is a very popular one. Clair means clear in Latin. So you have a lot of clairs. And so it's clairvoyance, clear vision. This is when you perceive things. When you perceive things either, what I'll say, in your inner eye or in your outer eye. There is a difference. Sometimes what will happen to me is I will see something in my inner eye, or what I call my mind's eye. I'll see, oh, well, this is the picture that I have in my mind. When you bring up this person, or when you bring that up, or when you ask me what's happening in May, all of a sudden I might see a picture in my mind's eye. However, there is also another thing that happens is it will be in my mind's eye, but I'll see it outside. And it's not always like 3D, but it is like this vision that I'm watching. And so like sometimes when I'm talking to somebody, I'll see something like behind them, I'll sense an energy and it kind of starts coming in. And so that's the outer vision. And some people, like in the movie Sixth Sense, spoiler alert, he sees dead people and he saw them so clearly that it was as though they were alive. and they didn't know. But at the end of the day, it's interesting because I rarely see things that 3D, but I trust what I see so much that it's just as real as 3D to me. So let's take another look at what we have. So I say clairvoyance can happen outside of space, meaning that I can be sitting here in my nice little warm room, and you can call me from miles away, another state, another country. It really doesn't make any difference, the space between us. And I didn't know that at first, but the space between doesn't affect my vision. And I will see into the space that is being portrayed. So it's outside of my room, outside of my space, and I can see into other spaces. A lot of times I just practice this, and when I practice this, it's kind of like, oh, I remember one time. I was like trying to develop. This was before I became professional, and I wanted to start opening my gifts back up. It's kind of like a lotus. They try to close, they couldn't close all the well. They didn't disappear, and I wanted to reinvigorate them and open them up. So I started exercising them, and I would say things like, "Okay, what?" And I'd sit and I'd meditate in the morning, and I'd think of a person at that's work, and then I would say, what color clothes do I see them in? Are they early? Are they late today? What are they going to have for lunch? And I would just activate it until I got it honed. And I know that seems like I'm spying on people, but it was harmless. I mean, it's just kind of like, oh, I visualize that you're going to be in that blue shirt. It's kind of funny because I used to do this with one of my best friends. Um, I would think, and this was just fun and games to me at the time when I was in high school, I'd be like, oh, I bet they're going to wear that shirt today, so I'll wear the same one. Inevitably, I put on the same shirt. So it's kind of like there doesn't, there does need to be a lack of, there does need to be boundaries around it, but those harmless things, I don't see a problem with. It didn't harm anybody. But I would see things outside of space and time, outside of space, and then I'd see things in the past, the present, or the future. And that's a little tricky too, because sometimes you need to understand, what does the past look like to you? What does the present look like to you? And what does the future look like to you? For me, I really can't describe it. I just know that I just have a knowledge that something that I'm seeing was in the past. And then sometimes I'll see a certain age, like I'll see the number 8 or something like that. Sometimes I'm like, nope, I'm in the future. I'm in the month of whatever. Sometimes I'm shown the month, sometimes I'm not. And sometimes I'm seeing things in the present. And so it's interesting because every now and again, if you get a read from me, especially the new people that don't just sit down and dialogue with me, because a lot of times after you get so many reads, you just sit down and talk to me. The new people will be very, very closed mouth, and they will be like, well, what do you see with my job? And I'm like, oh, for example, looks like you are going to get a raise at the end of this quarter, and they really appreciate you. And I'm seeing a lot of growth there and potential that you may start training people. So they might give you some employees. And then I'll look at them and say, are you aware of this yet? And I remember this one time he was like, no, I'm not aware of anything like that. And I'm like, okay, well, soon enough, you will become aware of it. And inevitably, they got a raise and a couple of people to report to them. And they're like, wow, she's the real deal. But what I'm saying is that sometimes I will see things that are coming in the near future. And I don't know if this person knows about it yet. So I gently talk about it, and then I gently ask them, are you aware of this? And sometimes they are, sometimes they're not, but inevitably it is coming. It is coming. So outside of space and time, and sometimes beyond the veil. So As you guys in the circle know, I get visited by people out beyond the veil, meaning the people that are on the other side. And sometimes I get visited by deities, etc. So beyond, it's always seeing beyond. Another type of clair is the clairaudience. This is clear sound. So the first one was seeing, this one's about hearing. And again, we have the inner ear and the outer ear, or it could be as subtle as a thought. So, for example, most of the time, the the voices that I hear will be an impression. I'll get an impression and I'll have to put it in my own words. Sometimes the voices that come through, whether it's the divine as it reveals itself to you, or maybe you asked me to pick up on someone on this side or that side, it doesn't, there's no difference in strength. I don't know if this person is gone yet, but this is what I hear them saying. And so it's just as easy for me to hear somebody on the other side as it is for me to tap into what they're doing on this side. But I'll hear it. Sometimes I'll just say something. It's as subtle as a thought. And so I want you to think about, was there ever a time that you just said something like you had a song in your head, or you had a thought that is so uncommon, or a word that you never think about and you just started utilizing this word? Like I remember one time, um, I was just, I never say this saying, never say this saying, talking to my friend for years. And then one day I go up to my friend and I'm like, well, not my circus, not my monkeys. And she was like, get out of my head, Granddaughter Crow. And I was like, I wasn't trying to be in your head, but she said, my boyfriend has been saying that every day. This is like his new thing. And so all I hear in my head is not my circus, not my monkeys. And then you come off and say it and you never say that. Get out of my head. So sometimes it's just a subtle thought that comes in. Sometimes I actually hear um, a different voice or a different accent, but that's in my inner ear. And every now and again, I will hear something audibly. And that usually happens to me. Okay, it's like those times that you're like, did somebody call my name? Yeah, or you're just like, yeah, hello? You heard somebody say something to you and there's nobody around, and the person that you're living with maybe is like, I was outside or whatever. That's you hearing the external with your outer ear. I also remember that, how the different conscious states of beta, alpha, theta, and we go into delta. Right before you fall asleep, that's when I hear from my outer ear a lot. And I will hear it literally just as clear as you can hear me speaking right now. I will hear a voice. And so I started playing with that a lot. And it's just like, whoa, that's pretty cool. It's a little freaky though, and it can be a little um, can throw you off a little bit because that is like it's so strong that you can't differentiate it between a voice that is a person talking to you and a voice that's talking to you. Usually I don't hear it like that. Usually it's in my inner ear with an impression. And so those are the different ways. So is that something that you do? Are you clairaudient, and how much? Now we get into claircognizance, clear knowing. This is that inner knowing that you just know what you know. You know what you know. You don't know how you know it, but you do. A lot of times this happens with people where they're just like, um, I knew that would happen. I knew this. I had a feeling, those types of things. And you're just like, did you see it? And they're like, no. Did you hear something? No. Did you feel something? No, I just knew. I just knew. And that's something that people with claircognizance almost, it's such a talent that they don't really know that they're doing it. They just take it for granted because it's so natural. But if you are claircognizant, you might want to start thinking, how did I know that? And could be your claircognizance that's happening, your inner knowing. That's a subtle one, but it's strong. Claire empathy. So we've talked about empathy. We talked about it a lot last month, but this is clear empathy. And I kind of want to clarify because empathy and then clear empathy, there's a little bit different. Empathy is one thing, but when you actually clear your energetic field and then go into your empathy, that makes it stronger and your messages are clearer. Meaning that if I, as Granddaughter Crow, who I rate myself pretty high on the empath list, if I have too much coming at me, I am overstimulated, and then somebody says something, I might take it wrong, hypersensitive, I might take it wrong because my empathy isn't clear. And so I need to rest. I need to eat something. I need to take that power shower where I rinse all residual energy away. And then I can show up with clear empathy because sometimes the empathy can come in and it's hard for an empath because sometimes you're like, well, I don't know if this is me or if that's them. You have to continuously clear your energetic field. 80%, according to Dr. Michael Smith, is not yours. 80%, 20% is. Clear your empathic body. Meditate, carry a stone, relax, go outside, stand in the wind, let the wind clear you, stand in the shower, let the water clear you, clear yourself. That's more the being able to utilize it as a tool. This is the difference. This one's now feeling almost emotions as though it is yours. So clairvoyance is sight, and clairaudience is sound and hearing, and claircognizance is the inner knowing. And this one is more like the feeling. It feels as though it is yours. Remember, in the class, does the depth of processing, the overstimulated, easily overstimulated, the empathy, and the paying attention to the subtleties within the environment. Those are things that happen with the clair empathy. Clairsence. Okay, so this is clear smelling. This is a little rare. People don't really utilize it as much as the other ones, but have you ever have you ever heard somebody just go, something doesn't smell right? Why did they say smell? Because they're utilizing their inner nose or outer nose. Like sometimes people literally, I remember one time I was sitting with a lady and she was pregnant and we started talking about that and I was like, Rose, because I smelt roses. I was like, Rose. And she goes, yeah, that's her middle name. And I'm like, well, that was weird, you know? But that's how energy just presents itself. So when you smell like something stinks, something doesn't smell, it smells wrong, this smells like BS, all of that kind of stuff, you're using this. And it also, I smell something that is not in the immediate environment, like the roses. So you can look around and go, why do I smell whatever it is? And then you're just like, oh, and then start figuring out what it is that you are intuitively picking up. Then we have psychometry, ooh, otherwise known as clairtangency, psychometry. This is clear touch. So if you start thinking about it, our intuition comes to us through our eyes, through our ears, through our knowing, through our feeling, through our all our senses. And this one is the touch. So if you don't know whether you have this or not, please clear everything all the time. Walk around with the clear thing so that you always are clearing the energy off of things. You will know if you have this, if you've ever walked into maybe a secondhand store or a certain store and you're just like, I really don't want to touch anything that's in here. Or if you go to an antique shop and you're just like, oh my God, this is overstimulating, or those types of things. Those are little clues that you don't want to touch something that somebody has, what belongs to somebody else. And even if you wash it, you're just still picking up that energy. So this is really interesting because I don't exercise this one very much, and I don't pay attention to it very much. But I have had people who just come to me and they give me a wallet or a ring or whatever. And what happens is when the item hits my hand, it's almost like it turns on a certain television and I start seeing things or I start picking things up. It gets really, really clear when I'm holding something. And so it's interesting because I I clear my energy a lot, especially when I was moving around in the public a lot because, you don't want to be picking up everything. You don't want to be hugging everybody. You don't want to be touching everybody. Just pay attention to that. If you or somebody that you know is like that, you may want to get them something that clears their energetic field or tell them to continuously put their hands in their pockets. I know that's one thing that I do when I go to the store or out. I just keep my hands in my pockets a lot because I don't want to pick up all of that energy. So it's psychometry and it is a gift. So it's clear touch. Be careful who and what you touch. Pay attention if this is yours and continuously clear your environment because this is where maybe you go to a certain supermarket and you feel really yucky and you bring that home and you ingest that food and now your stomach hurts. Pay attention. Maybe it's worth an extra 5 minutes to go up the street. Maybe it's worth you being able to clear your food before you eat it. And this is also very powerful for the people who have this because then if they clear their energy before they cook something, they can actually cook the most flavorful food because they're actually using their intuition, the intuitive cook. So here's others. There's more. Yeah, oh yeah, there's always more. Other ways that your intuition may come to you through signs. Like when you say, send me a sign. Yeah, I decided to go, there's a whole bunch of these ways through signs, symbols, and numbers. So signs are like an omen, like, oh my goodness, I saw an eagle. Oh my goodness, I saw a fox. Those are some signs or omens. Or a sign would be like when we're sitting there and you speak a truth and my phone goes bloop and it's like, wow, I guess that was true. It's just watching the synchronicity within the environment, those signs, symbols that come at you, maybe like animal totems. Symbols could also be literally like runic symbols or, any type of divination symbols, Olgam, any type of language, spiritual languages that are out there, writing languages. Numbers. Usually that hits somebody who is just waking up a lot and it continues, but the first thing that really happens or that the person becomes aware of is how come I keep seeing 111? How come I keep seeing 444? How come I keep seeing 777? There's synchronicity of numbers. And I get a lot of people in, they'll ask me about that. Why am I seeing these numbers? And, of course, I will give them my interpretation of those numbers. But what I actually tell them is that the divine loves to talk through numbers and that it is a connection and to consider where you were, what you were thinking about, what's going on when you got that numeral, numbers and start developing it from there. So the universe talks to us through signs and symbols and numbers. What else, Granddaughter Crow? Oh, dreams. Gosh, there are a lot of different types of dreams that happen. I dream every night. Um, and I don't pay attention to most of them past about the first hour. Usually I think about my dreams for about the first half hour or hour of my wake time as I slowly transition to see if there was any themes or to figure out is there any intuition in there or was I just digesting my day or was I overstimulated or what was going on. But every now and again, you get that dream, and you're just like, that was a different feeling in that dream. And it seemed a little bit more clear. It was really interesting. Like last night, I had this really interesting dream where I was just like, do, 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 do in my dream. And somebody touched me in my dream. And I was like, I can literally feel you and I'm in my dream state. That's what I told them. So I knew that I was in my dream state. And I was like, but I can feel you touch me. I felt you. And so then I wake up and I say a prayer. I hope that person is doing okay. It felt like a visitation of some sort. So, nevertheless, pay attention to your dreams. Keep a dream journal if that's the kind of information that you're looking for. And then synchronicity, as I like to say, I don't believe in coincidence. I believe in synchronicity. I think that everything happens for a reason, that there are patterns all over the place. And when you feel like you are in confusion, up your consciousness and you will see a pattern. Things that don't make sense on one level do make sense on a higher level. Synchronicity, synchronicities. And so, with that, oh, yeah. So this is the time where we get to. So basically, there's a whole bunch. What is intuition? I believe we all have it. I believe that we all receive it differently. I would love to hear how you receive your intuition and did something that was presented here today get you thinking about, oh, shoot, I think I've got claircognizance or whatever. We'll be talking about this all month long. But now is the time. So choose a group. Do you want group one, group two, group three? And let's we are in sacred space, sacred time. Awesome, group one. Oh, group one, renewal. It's kind of hard to see. There we go. Spiritual progress, success, and hope. You've got the eagle. No matter what you're going through right now, rise above, rise above. Look at the bird's eye view. The eagle is with you. We rarely get this one. This one's a harsh one because it means that all of your buttons are getting pushed emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, and that you have to face some fears. So rise above. Let the eagle carry you. Let the blue eagle carry you. Earn that medicine. I've earned this medicine and I don't want to ask for it anymore. But once you come through all that you do, you show up on the other side as a healer, as a medicine person, as a wise soul. Group two, ooh, group two, you guys get the harvest moon, turning point, preparation, and gathering. Again, you have an eagle, you have a bear, you have a wolf, and a stag. So this is a good time to reap the rewards of the harvest. Back. My thing goes out of focus because I'm like pushing these cards. You guys get a blank card. So put a dragon in there or whatever animal is your favorite. or a deity that wants to walk with you. It's kind of up to you. You get to choose what that energy is, besides the eagle and the bear and the wolf and the stag. Okay, group three. Oh, this is interesting. So, group three, growth, opportunity, acceptance gateway, a lot of strength and a lot of power. Be empowered because you've got some moving to do. You got some moving to do. And it's kind of interesting because I also pulled the Stone of the Ancestors, higher good, guidance, and choice. So basically, as you focus on what is, you have to make decisions around what is the highest and greatest good, guidance, and choices. And so for you, the squirrel is here. Gather all the information, take notes, gather, 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 and that will help you to make the correct decisions and grow in the opportunities. So thank you so much. I'm looking forward to this month as we talk about intuition. And so let's go ahead and see. Dee dee. Thank you so much. This is Intuition, the Circle with Granddaughter Crow. I really appreciate you guys, and I can't wait to catch up with you. Please send me an email. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you on the flippity flip.